You're listening to Heroes in the Moment. What's up, heroes? I'm Michael.
And I'm Nathan.
Today, Black Panther Wakanda Forever.
Baby, it's hype.
Finally going to the review. And of course, we always start off with our movie reviews, our initial reactions. And I must say, what a spectacle.
Yeah. Listen, man. All you listeners know, leading up to this movie, I was just like, bro, I think it'll be top 5. I think it'll be top 5.
Right.
At the end of the movie, I was like, you know what? I don't think it's too wild to consider it, up there.
I agree.
I really don't. It's up for debate, but I was shocked.
Right. That's the crazy part, too, is if you think back if you guys were listening to us back in early, I think it was January, February 2022, we did a top 10 most anticipated projects of 2022. And obviously that changed because a lot of movies got pushed back, and we didn't get to include a lot of movies. And we, on neither of our lists, included Wakanda Forever because we were a little bit hesitant. We didn't know what would happen. We were confident in Ryan Coogler, but at the same time, we were nervous because, of course, the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman, which we'll go into depth in this podcast, and then also COVID and other effects, and it wasn't even on our list. And then, of course, back when the first trailer released, now going to say, I would say for sure it's the best Marvel trailer we've ever seen.
Yeah, it is crazy.
And it completely changed our point of view.
And we were skeptical too, when the news first came out that, hey, this project is really good. We're like, but is it really though?
Really good?
Is it?
And then the trailers, of course, blew our mind. We were super invested. Both trailers were two of the best trailers in Marvel's ever done. And then the movie itself absolutely blew me away. 100%. Like after watching it the first time, I was like, that was really good. But honestly, usually when you think movie's over, most of the time you're like, you're on a high after you watch a movie and then you're like, it goes down a little bit. For me, after I thought it over and slept on it, the movie went up.
Really?
Like, I enjoyed it more the more I thought about it.
It's pretty much staged the same for me. It hasn't really moved at all.
That's fair. That's fair. But for me, after sleeping on it and thinking about it and looking over and really thinking pros and cons, all that kind of jazz for this movie, it really went up for me. And I absolutely adored Wakanda Forever. I think it was just absolutely amazing. And of course, the box office is reflecting that already. It's
like 180 million.
180 million in the United States domestic.
Second biggest this year.
Right behind Top Gun Maverick. Because No Way Home is 2021.
Oh, really?
Yes, 2021 Maverick is December. But right behind Top Gun Maverick, and domestically, of course, or not, that was domestic. And then the world is 330 million.
330,
making
worldwide.
it the third highest or the 13th highest opening of all time, and the highest opening ever in the month of November.
I wonder where that ranks amongst other Marvel movies. Like, the fact alone that it's the highest in November, I mean, it obviously speaks to the fact that most movies don't get released in November, but that's still really impressive.
It is.
I wonder
the
how
13th
many
of all
more
time,
Marvel,
though.
Yeah, 13th of all time.
13th
I wonder how many more
time.
Marvel movies specifically did better. And when you consider everything that the movie went through, that's
it's pretty impressive.
I can't believe it, man.
Yeah, they definitely killed it. And obviously the hesitancy, we had a beginning going into this movie and prior was, of course, the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman and his legacy and what this movie would have meant. And I can honestly say, I know he would have been proud of this movie.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think so, too. I mean, I feel like this might have been the hardest thing they've ever had to do.
100%.
I mean, their lead, dies. I think, and that was after Coogler, I believe, had an idea for a script for a plot.
And I'll talk about what he talked about what he was going to do.
And then for him to have to rework everything, and then for those actors to go through, not only are they mourning him in real life, they're mourning him in the movies. I can't believe how hard that must have been.
Right.
But yes, I truly believe that this was a great tribute to him and his legacy. So
I completely
shout
agree.
out the homie,
and of course, Ryan Coogler came out and said what the initial plan was for Wakanda Forever if, of course, Chadwick Boseman would have lived to see it and, do it. What would have happened is T'Challa would have been dealing with the effects of Avengers Endgame after being gone for 5 years and returning and having that loss of time and that regret and grief along those lines. He said it would have still been a very emotional film and gone to death. Queen Ramonda, of course, spoilers, would have still died. And, among other things would have happened that built up of course, him still fighting Namor as the main antagonist. So I think that movie would have been really good too.
Yeah.
But of course, I don't want to say it because, of course, I love Chadwick Boseman. I would have loved to have seen this movie more so than I do now, just because I didn't want him to pass.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know if it would have been better than this movie.
Yeah.
Because this movie just blew me out of the water.
It killed it, man. It
Literally.
killed it. Literally
out of the water.
Yeah.
Oh, water. But real quick before we dive deep into our characters and the pros and cons of our film, I just want to briefly, because we never do this, not much. I mean, we talk about the directors throughout the duration of our reviews, but I just wanted to give a whole segment to our director Ryan Coogler because of how amazing of a director he is, and plus he co-wrote the movie as well.
He's probably the best director Marvel has right now.
Right now,
to be
I would
honest,
agree, and he's apparently running Secret Wars at this point.
Bro, give him both movies.
Give
man,
him Kang and Secret Wars. Yeah, I agree.
Like, why not? He has right now the best track record. The 2 movies he's made, are arguably top 10. And
right.
Not too many other people can say that in Marvel.
No, not at all. I mean, and it's on the road to being the best trilogy in Marvel. I mean, you think of the Captain America trilogy, the Spider-Man trilogy.
Yeah.
I mean, none of them have as complete good record as this one does so far, being both very high.
Given that the third
films.
one will be really good.
Right. So, and I think it has the potential to be, depending, of course, of what our director Ryan Coogler, and if he comes back, which I think he will, inevitably come back because he loves doing it. But it was just awesome to see. I think Ryan Coogler knocked it out of the ballpark with this one. Of course, everything I've seen of Ryan Coogler, I've not seen a bad movie from Ryan Coogler.
I haven't either.
Which I don't know how many movies I've seen.
I've only seen 2.
I've seen
both exist in Marvel.
I've seen Black Panther. I've seen Wakanda Forever. I've seen Creed 1, and I may have seen some others, but I've never seen a bad project from Ryan Coogler up to this point. So, in Ryan Coogler, we trust.
Yo, shout out Ryan Coogler.
Shout out
man.
Ryan Coogler.
You the man. Give us some more content.
Yes, we would love that. All right, so to get into our characters of this movie and to break them down, because there's quite a few. Some I skipped because some were not as big, too important to talk about. But the first one being we got to talk about, and that's our new protagonist for Black Panther Wakanda Forever being Shuri, or as you said again, spoilers ahead. Spoilers for this whole podcast, obviously.
Yes.
Shuri being the new
seen it.
Black Panther.
Yeah.
She's the new Black Panther. And honestly, Letitia Wright, again, shout out to her and Shuri as well. Wow.
Yeah.
Letitia Wright herself knocked it out of the ballpark with her acting, but Shuri, I would go to say, is up there. I would say that she has the best character development in a single Marvel film, along with Tom Holland's Spider-Man and Spider-Man No Way Home. I feel like in a single film. You have to remember single film.
I think Doctor Strange is up there.
For the first one?
He starts off as a complete jerk, dude.
Right.
And he ends up being sacrificial.
Yeah, I mean,
saving the world.
I still think that these two are better than that one. I think that one's a good one, but I think
as far as the writing goes of the characters, rather than the actions of the character themselves, I do think that dude, Shuri was just on one, man.
She was.
To see her transformation throughout the movie, obviously with everything that she went through, as we'll talk about later. It's impressive. I don't really think we've seen that level before.
No, I mean, and it's literally insane to see that level of development, because she goes from in Black Panther 1 and other medias being the comedic relief, right? She's funny, she's witty, she's smart, she's scientific, she's supporting character to Chadwick, to going to being this almost ruthless, vengeful, but yet scientific and analytical, but at the same time, loving, compassionate character that came out of nowhere, and they did such a good job writing
and
that.
Just like because of his death, she had to step up into that role.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't even know if she ever would have.
No.
No.
I mean, in the comics, Shuri does become Black Panther way later, but I don't think that Letitia Wright as Shuri in the MCU would have ever become Black Panther. Without the passing of Chadwick Boseman, sadly, but she killed it, and I love seeing her, and she became instantly one of my favorite female Marvel characters through this movie. Because of how good they did her, because they absolutely knocked her out of the ballpark.
I mean, shout out the writers, man.
Oh yeah,
y'all killed it with Shuri, dude.
Definitely killed it with her, because I mean, she goes from literally this analytical, scientific brain, right, to where she wouldn't even burn her clothes, didn't believe in the ancestral plane at all. Very not spiritual, none of that. Very scientific, and that nature, to going to being hatred, full of hatred, vengeful. Of course, that seeds planted into her mind and all this stuff, and it's building upon each other, to then giving up on that and giving into compassion and will and for her people. And that's how amazing. And of course, you see her go from princess to queen to Black Panther in such a beautiful way.
I know, and that's a really cool theme that obviously vengeance obviously is never the way, and it only hurts you and everyone else
Right,
around
definitely,
you.
definitely.
But yeah, choosing compassion, that was really cool.
It was.
Theme in that
Was.
end of the movie. But yeah, seeing her transformation throughout
Yeah.
the movie, like you said, was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've ever seen someone go through that much change,
No,
dude.
no, no. I
Like
mean,
you said through a movie,
again, up
you go
there,
from a scientist trying to save her
right.
brother, and then her mom dies, and she becomes Black Panther, and she becomes a queen. Now she's like a leader. It's like, bruh, how much more is gonna happen?
It's
But yeah,
gonna happen. I mean, she lost so much, and I think back to the scene in Avengers Endgame when you see T'Challa, Queen Ramonda, and Shuri all together standing on the podium, and Tony Stark's talking about how family, it's important and it's
all about
crucial,
family.
and it's loving, and then you of course transition over to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and Shuri's lost all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, wow, like what a realization, what a sad realization. Of course, feeling the emotions throughout this movie, and of course, in the beginning, of course, it goes right into the death of T'Challa, and of course, going through an illness. It's undisclosed illness, but I think they did that well.
Yeah.
But I'll talk about that later on more. And then for her handling that right off the bat, going in the instant change of character. And just progressively getting better. And I really liked her. Like, I didn't think I would like her as much as I did as Black Panther.
Yeah.
Like, she was a great Black Panther, and I didn't realize I didn't think
honestly,
it would be.
man, I was kind of draining it once we got, closer and closer to the confirmation that Michael B. Jordan wouldn't be, returning as, Black Panther.
Right.
I was like, well, I mean, I guess I could live with, Shuri. But I mean,
Right.
at that point, we had only seen a comedic character. But they did very well with the resources and the people that they had.
Right. And her suit, man. I love her suit.
Yeah.
Her suit was killer.
Gold and black.
Gold, got the dots.
Sleek.
I mean, it was sick.
Tough, dude. I would wear it. You know what I'm
sure,
saying?
For sure.
That's some drip she got on.
She does. But she absolutely, just again, Shuri was amazing. I loved her character in this movie.
Yeah.
All right, to move on to our big main antagonist himself, the debut of Namor, played by Tino Herreta. Tino Herreta. I cannot. We're horrible pronouncing names.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, I know. But Namor, man, like, dude, I loved him. I loved him.
I mean, constantly the movie was towing that line between, is he just doing this to protect his people, or is he looking for excuse, for war? Is he this, loving protector, or he's, this man who secretly just wants, bloodshed?
Right.
And I thought that did that very well. And I think it's cool how people can leave the theaters kind of with like two different like opinions of him.
Right.
Like some consider him a villain, some will consider him a great leader and protector.
Right. And that's really cool. The way they executed that was really amazing. And of course, this is a movie where they do not kill off the villain finally.
Shout out. I'm glad.
Keep him, and of course, they had to. I mean, of course, it's Namor.
Yeah.
But obviously, this is definitely 100% going to be one of those characters that I feel like he'll probably join with Doctor Doom and make an alliance there later. And kind of a villain kind of version of the Illuminati. He'll be part of that. But I think it will eventually lead to his redemption and him becoming an anti-hero more like.
And I think he was anti-hero in this.
You think he was like an anti-hero in this movie?
Like, yes, like.
He had villain,
I mean,
though.
well, like
he was a villain.
Well, I mean, the thing with anti-heroes, they're usually always the protagonist in the thing. Like Walter White, Tony Soprano, they're the main characters, right? Obviously, Letitia was the main character. But I really would consider him, an anti-hero. He's shown in both lights, in the good light with his people, and then obviously with this darker side. And the film doesn't shy away from that.
Right.
I don't think it really condemns him either for the actions that he takes.
I mean, and that argument can also be made from, of course, the scene where Namor shows Shuri his people and his home, which is, of course, one of the most brilliant, pieces of the film.
It's very nice,
very beautiful,
very beautiful.
And of course, him just showing Shuri, and anybody else like get the chemistry between Namor and Shuri, like it's strong. Like did you get that connection?
I wasn't feeling it.
Dude,
I was feeling our connection when we were watching it.
It's strong. That Namor Shuri connect. It's pretty strong.
Ain't nothing gonna happen though.
No, probably not. But they got a strong connection. Of course, the ending. They're both standing, on the ship, coming back together, stopping the fighting, which is also another argument towards anti-hero.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he had those villain eyes and he used them.
Oh, listen, man. We always be talking about villain eyes, but like the whole time, and we're like, so what is this homie's deal, man?
Right.
Is he actually evil?
Right. I don't think he's evil.
At the very end, I was convinced that he was just a bad dude.
Right. Right.
Like, for real.
You were like, dude, this guy's a villain.
Yeah,
man.
he's a villain. I mean, here's the thing, man. Like, people like to see a villain who exhibits good qualities too.
Right, for sure.
know?
Thanos, Loki.
I mean, yeah, like you said, just because you're a villain doesn't mean you can't be a loving protector and leader to your own people. So I think it was kind of blurred throughout the whole movie until like the end. Where he's just going like dummy on everybody. It's like, all right, I think this guy's been looking for an excuse to kill people.
He is insane. Like his abilities, like of course he can fly. He's super strong. He's got the water to use. Yeah. So crazy.
It's crazy, dude.
Like I loved his abilities.
I know, he was cool. I loved seeing him just like bounce around in the air.
And that also, was cool. His confirmation that he himself is a mutant, in fact, which was also a very nice touch. Which I loved, and of course, I just really loved Namor. And I would say the only thing that I did not like was his initial entrance into the film. Yeah, I did not like when he just rose out of the water to talk with Shuri and Ramonda.
That's kind of scary. I can't even lie. If I'm just chilling on the beach, with my homies, and like this dude just like rises out of the water, but I'm running away. Yeah, not in the water. I'm dipping the other way.
Gone, man.
If you feel me,
for sure.
It was just kind of weird. Like, I mean, I guess he had to do it.
Right.
I mean,
I had to have that conversation, but
I know. At first, I was confused. I was like, "How do you get in there?" You're like, "Bro, they tore down like the barriers." I was like, "Oh,
they got in there."
You're right.
But yeah, I mean, that was the only thing I probably did not like about how they executed Namor was just his entrance there into Wakanda and seeing them and stuff, and that talk and that conversation. That's the only thing I didn't like. But other than that, just his, you see his origin story as well in this movie, which they executed very, very well.
Yeah.
You see he's actually thousands of years, is it hundreds of
thousands? I think
hundreds of years.
He's from the 1700s.
No, it's 1500 AD.
Was it 1500?
I think it was 1500 AD.
So,
it's still hundreds.
Yeah. 500 to 600 years old.
Yeah. So, that's pretty crazy. I didn't expect that.
That's pretty old, man.
It is pretty old.
I never know someone like that.
And then obviously also his Aztec and Latino roots was also very cool.
That was really dope.
Very cool to see
I wish
as well.
we had gotten more flashback scenes, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, you think so?
Like, we had a good, good amount, but I wish we had more, man.
Right.
I mean, talking about 600 years, dude.
Right. And that's one thing, is like Namor is a worthy character to receive his own maybe Disney Plus show or special.
Yeah.
I feel like he's a worthy character of that.
I mean, like, for a movie that centered so hard on him trying to protect his nation, like, why didn't we get to see any flashbacks of him as a leader, as an adult, fighting against other nations in the 1700s, in the 1800s, like 1900s?
It just wasn't for the story in particular. Yeah. I mean, you saw him as a kid and how he saw war and saw slavery, and saw those effects and how that correlated to the present, which I thought was really well executed. And of course, his origin with they had their own plant that they use. Of course, Shuri uses that later to make her own heart-shaped herb out of science, but it was really cool to see. I mean, I think Namor was a very, very touching character, and I think that they executed him really well. And I would say that he's a top 5 MCU villain.
Top 5.
At this point.
Killmonger, Loki, Thanos,
Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Probably.
I wish we had more Winter Soldier, but yeah. I would say so. I mean, and that's just sad that we don't have more, really good written villains like that. It's a shame.
Should have had one back in July.
I mean, look, man, you got 2 from Ryan Coogler in that list.
That's crazy.
That's saying
that's
something.
That's crazy. And I don't know. I think I like Namor better than Killmonger, if I'm being completely honest. I think I do.
I can't say that much. I can't say that much.
You can't say that?
No.
I don't know. I think I do. I do. I really like him, and I can't wait because I feel like he has definitely a big future for the potential of the MCU. Because he's definitely going to be in more projects.
He's a water boy. He's an air boy.
I mean, maybe Fantastic Four will be the next appearance, possibly. I don't know. Because of course he does have relations with Sue Storm in the comics. So maybe we'll see something along those lines. So I don't know.
They have a kid and they name him Storm. That'd be so. That was dumb. I don't know why I said that. Sorry.
But no, I love Namor, and I thought he was awesome. I can't wait to see him again.
Goated. I'm excited, man.
Yes. All right. Next up, we have to talk about our Queen of Wakanda, Queen Ramonda, played by Angela Bassett.
One of the best parts of this movie.
Definitely one of the best parts.
She didn't get a ton of screen time in the first one.
No.
And I really feel like, bro, she just like shined in her role in this one.
She killed it. I mean,
like. For real.
Like Angela Bassett, shout out her, because honestly, if any time for an MCU movie to win an Oscar, I think it would be from her performance as Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah.
I really do. I think she has a chance. for Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination. I know they're fighting. I know what Wakanda Forever and the writers and Ryan Coogler are fighting for nominations in the Oscars. I know they're fighting for it this year. So I think it's very, very well possible that she may be nominated. Maybe not win, but at least nominated for Best Supporting Actress in the Oscars. So I think that'd be very cool because holy cow, that acting was amazing.
Besides those two, she really was like the big, bright, point of this future.
Definitely.
This film, you see her, obviously she's grieving, from her son, and obviously you see her like be like really overreaching and overprotective, and you see her go through so many emotions in a shorter amount of time, and every scene she's in, like she steals, dude.
Right. She does. I mean, she's made queen after her son's passing. And she's dealing with the repercussions as Queen of Wakanda of the United States and other nations wanting their resources, which I think will have a big...
Give us your vibranium.
I think that will have a big theme in the third Black Panther movie of other countries invading, Wakanda for their resources. But
when she starts invading them.
But seeing Queen Ramonda, of course, in the United Nations discussing, different things about that and just her acting performance and, of course, her firing Okoye as general as well. And that emotion she put into because, both of, she wasn't in the right and then neither was Okoye.
Okoye is goaded, man.
Okoye is goaded.
She ain't deserve that.
She did not deserve that, but at the same time, you have to understand what she was feeling. She lost her daughter, her only daughter.
Yeah, she's like, I've lost
everything.
Daughter, I've lost everything.
And
that speech went crazy.
It went so hard.
And we heard it before. It was in the trailer, wasn't it?
It was in the trailer.
Yes,
we didn't know what it was talking about, but yeah, she definitely killed it. And of course, it ended with her tragic passing in the movie from drowning, which I loved. Usually when a big character dies, it's from like being impaled or something like that. But they showed it because Namor, of course, water is key.
He's a water boy.
He's water. So for her to die by drowning, I think is so cool.
And I think it was even cooler that it wasn't like someone drowned her. Like it resulted. She would have survived had she not gone back for Riri.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I don't. We didn't have to see a scene where she was directly killed by Namor to think, oh, Namor's bad, or to like kind of make a martyr out of her.
Right.
Like she proved who she was by saving this girl she had met like a couple days before.
Definitely.
Fortunately, she couldn't make it to the top. So
I know.
Shout out to Queen.
It was so well done. Of course, it boosted Shuri's character development as well there.
Yeah.
But also she was just great in this movie. Of course, she originally wanted to tell Shuri something. In the beginning that didn't. She wanted Shuri to see the spiritual side and not give into science. And of course, Shuri had the whole conversation about she'll burn the world if it was her case. And of course,
that was crazy.
That was really good.
Bro, what?
And then,
bro, you sound like Thanos, man.
But Ramonda, of course, was calming her down and she's like, we got to burn our clothes. And that's a huge theme throughout this movie as well.
Yeah.
We got to burn the clothes of, after the passing.
Yeah. To symbolize the past being put behind us.
We're moving on with our lives and stuff. And of course, she was going to tell him something about her brother T'Challa. There's something you need to know, which we find out the answer in the end credit scene. But it was just super cool to see that. And I think it was really, really done. I loved her character in this movie. I think it was really good.
Yeah. Goated.
Yes. All right. Next up, we got to talk about our brand new character from this movie who actually surprisingly had a lot bigger of a part than I initially expected. And that being Riri Williams, otherwise known as Ironheart, played by Dominic Thorne. What do you think?
I thought she was amazing. She was your typical, like quirky, funny, younger, side character.
Right.
But they did her well. I was getting like, she obviously ain't, nowhere near Iron Man, but like it just let joy in my heart, man. Just seeing her creative side and flying around and
seeing another like Iron Man suit.
Yeah, an Iron Man suit. It was just. I don't know. It was a breath of fresh air in this movie to see like her innocence.
And I really liked her actually more than I thought I would. And it makes me actually really excited for her series next year coming out. Of course, it's being helmed by Ryan Coogler himself as well.
I know.
So like it makes me just super excited to see that now. Like I wasn't at all excited for Ironheart before, but now I'm actually am.
Anthony
and that's
Ramos.
the crazy part. Anthony Ramos, he has the villain. But yeah, I thought she was great in this movie. Of course, she was funny. You said this out of the theater. I think she kind of replaced Shuri, really, his character from the first Black Panther.
Yeah, she did.
So,
like really,
in a way. So then, of course, she showing that genius intellect and her being the scientist to develop the vibranium finder. For the CIA. That was crazy.
I was not expecting that. I really thought that was going to be Doom. The entire movie, I was like, bro, that's Doom. That's Doom.
And Doom did not show up, by the way.
And he didn't, man.
And honestly,
I think they cut it. They cut it.
You think they cut it?
They had to.
I don't know.
I saw so many leaked pictures of the
Yeah.
end credits scene. I was like, man, that's Doom.
Doom in it. But no, he wasn't.
I really think they filmed it with Doom. Like, I really think they filmed it and just decided it wasn't the time.
It wasn't the time yet. We're
being
gonna wait a little
honest.
bit.
Yeah.
And I think they made the right decision, if I'm being honest, to bring him in. Maybe I don't know if I want Fantastic Four to be his first movie, but I mean, I'd be okay with that too.
Yeah.
But I think an end credit scene would have been cool. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, let's wait a little bit.
Yeah, it might be a bad fit.
Give it more. I think they wanted to be more emotionally tied to the movie instead of just be like Doom and like, oh, you know, which is completely understandable. But
yeah,
I did like Riri's character. She was funny. Like you said, she was witty,
sassy,
very sassy. And then of course she's super genius intellect to build her own Iron Man suit out of vibranium. Of course, she couldn't keep it, so it brings way to kind of create her own that looks more like the comics, because that one looks like the Blue Beetle suit.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, bro, you told me that, bro, that's Blue Beetle. I'm like, bro, that is. Yeah, I mean, honestly, bro, she got the Wakandan secrets now, and it doesn't stop her from going back from Cambridge and just making whatever she wants now, man.
I know. Well, I mean, you're not going to get that out there.
She probably stole some vibranium too.
You think that Dora Milaje would let her take some vibranium out of there? No way.
Listen, man, all I'm saying is they might not have noticed. I mean, I really think she could have, and then she starts with that and making her next suit. It's possible. Or Shuri slipped her some because she wanted to help her out.
That's probable.
Shuri would do that.
Shuri would do that.
Plus, obviously, she's a queen. Ain't nobody stopping her.
That's facts. All right, but I did enjoy Ironheart and her character. You have anything else to add about her and her role in this movie? She had a very pivotal role.
Very pivotal. Obviously, that was a huge part, when she's kidnapped, right? Along with Shuri. That whole part, she really shone in that part. Obviously, in the final battle, too. I wasn't initially excited, for the show, but I think she'll do a really good job.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. All right, next up, we got to talk about our next character being Nakia in this movie, which I liked Nakia. I think I liked her in this movie better than I did the first one. Yeah. What do you feel?
I feel like I would be Nakia in real life. You know what I'm saying? Like, just a valiant warrior, fighting the battle.
Yeah.
Just dipping, going off to Haiti, just vibing,
Haiti.
Helping out kids. That was the coolest part, man.
That was cool.
Just seeing how she had moved on, she was trying to make a difference in this way now, with
and we see the reason why later in the end credit scene we'll talk about.
Yeah, but listen, man, I thought she might have been probably the fourth best character in this movie.
You think so?
I really think she deserved more screen time. Obviously, I understand that, she was a more minor character and she was, removed from the Wakanda situation. But her story was very compelling to watch.
I also think, well, I guess the end credit scene means no, but I think her story really is complete. Yeah. For Nakia. I don't know if we'll see her again, but I guess with the end credit scene we'll have to. But we may not have to necessarily.
They don't have to touch her or kill her. Like, she just live out her days. She can just leave
her in Haiti. I mean, just leave her alone.
Yeah.
But I think her story is complete. But I think they did, again, they called, like, Queen Ramonda went to her and said, we need your help.
Yeah.
She's been
call
kidnapped.
The soldier out of retirement.
Yep. Call the spy.
And so cool,
she killed it. She went and she got her out. She got Shuri out of there. But it started the war. But
the whole thing, man, and I feel like that was a little uncharacteristic of her. I know she was under direct orders from the queen, as she said verbatim, like do whatever you have to do,
right?
Essentially, and then, but she's always been one to choose kindness and peace when possible, and just straight up killing two guards.
But she is a straight up Wakandan spy who is willing to do whatever it took to get Shuri back. So
yeah. I guess she really didn't have a full understanding of the situation.
Right.
They would be treating as guests, dude. Well, obviously they want to kill Riri, but Shuri was be treated as a guest.
Yes, and a very good guest. I mean, he gave her his mother's bracelet for goodness sake.
I was like,
and a dress.
Simp. That was simp.
That's why I was saying chemistry there, man.
Listen, he had that thing for 500 years, and then he passes it on to this girl he just met 2 days ago.
My God,
I'm like,
he
bro,
head over heels.
That's not the move. If I'm being honest.
But yeah, so I agree. I enjoyed Nakia. She was good. She was a good addition. She's a very skilled warrior, I will say.
Yeah, but definitely it made sense why it started the war, but just imagine if she had used non-lethal, and then the whole movie could have been averted maybe.
Over.
You knocked out unconscious. I guess I'll forgive you.
They still would have tried to kill Riri though.
Yeah, probably. That's what her show would be about.
Yeah,
it's just named more after her.
That'd
be terrible.
Just flying after her.
Ends with her dying.
That would be kind of sad.
That'd be crazy. Just chasing
Not even
her.
gonna lie. Did you have anything else to add about Nakia?
I did not, but she was awesome.
Yeah, she was great.
Awesome.
So another character that I really liked, and honestly, there's not really a character I didn't like in this movie, if I'm being honest. Well, maybe, but anyway, right off the bat, I have to talk about Okoye, our next character, who is also very, very great in this movie. I really enjoyed her character development was actually very good as well.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
She was like the same Okoye of old, but we got to see more of her story. We
could see more broken down version.
Obviously, because she has the position that she loves and covets, so much stripped away from her. So like that, it feels like that's her identity. That's who she is.
Right.
So she's like struggling. I feel like with that, like, what am I doing now? Like,
right.
who am I that I'm not doing this?
Like, I'm not the general, so what do I do now?
Yeah.
And of course, you see when Namor invades Wakanda, she's still helping the people. She's still doing stuff. And of course, Shuri gives her the midnight. What was it? Midnight
Angel.
Midnight Angel armor.
Why do they not get more of those, man? I'll be rocking that thing.
I know, everybody
to
getting them.
Like, to my home, to church, wherever I'm going to. I'm pulling up in that thing.
I'm pulling up in it.
No one's messing with me.
No, for sure.
The Midnight Angel.
The Midnight Angel.
That's not like a comic thing, is it?
I don't know. Like I've never heard of that particularly, but she was great in that. And of course, you see her comedic. She's funny.
She's hilarious.
She's not funny on purpose. That's what I love about her.
Yeah, she doesn't try.
No. And that's one thing I loved about this movie. The comedy in this movie was never forced. It was just genuinely funny. And I love that. Like it's very refreshing from the MCU.
Listen, man, it's
especially
extremely
after the last movie.
After the last couple of movies.
I know. So it was nice to see Okoye doing her thing, very actiony, spears, all up in there. So.
Yeah, I'm like same old. Shout out Okoye. I ain't messing with you anytime soon.
I am not messing with Okoye. Next up, I love this guy. I love him so much. And I never thought I would because, from his comics, he was always really an antagonist, not the best dude. He wasn't funny. He wasn't cool. But the way they've done him in the MCU, you just can't help but love the M'Baku, man. Winston Duke, bro, my guy.
He's my dad, dude.
I love M'Baku.
I would follow that dude into war every day,
dude. Just
I would grab my spear, dude, and then when he starts beating his chest, I'll beat my chest back.
I just start going, ooh.
I'd be like, I would just do what you doing, man.
Every time.
That's the leader. He's inspirational.
If you eat a carrot, I'm eating a carrot.
I mean 2 carrots.
You swinging a mallet, I'm swinging a mallet.
You sweeping the room, I'll sweep the whole house.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm following the lead.
You jump off a cliff, I'll jump higher off the cliff. Like anytime, any day. I loved him.
He's such a well-written character.
And I think the consensus of M'Baku from this movie was, and you experienced this and I experienced this, and I'm pretty sure the whole world experiences this. Everybody in certain points of the movie were so afraid that he was going to die like multiple times.
I know.
Like I did not want him to die.
He was an absolute idiot because obviously he has a little pride problem, so he keeps on wanting to go after Namor, and he's no match for Namor.
I mean, he's so funny. Like the fish man.
The fish man.
Like, that's the fish man.
He goes after the fish, and he like throws him,
and they punch him through the chest.
For like 50 feet. I'm like,
goodness.
bro, you gotta be. And he's like just swimming in the water. I'm like, bro, get out of the water.
I'm coming.
Get out of the water, bro. That's not your specialty.
No, he was so he was of course the comedic relief of this movie for sure. But it was hilarious. Like every time, he's eating a carrot and calling Okoye a bald-headed demon and all this other stuff. The Cool Khan.
The Cool Khan.
The feather serpent god. Yes, we read. Like, it was hilarious. Like, he was just so...
Just because we live in the mountains doesn't mean we don't read. I'm like, bro, that's facts.
I mean, he was great in this movie. My only con with him is I feel like he didn't get enough screen time, if I'm being honest. Like, he was barely in this movie.
And he's a legitimate threat, both physically and politically.
Like, most people call him the strongest, like, plain human character in the MCU.
Really?
Which I don't think is that far out there. So... Just normal human.
I've never heard that, but I can see it.
It'd make the most sense.
It would be up there.
Because no other one is just a normal human.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I don't think there is one.
Yeah, like everyone else's powers.
Exactly. Like,
he's just a massive guy.
Hawkeye versus M'Baku to arm wrestle. M'Baku's crushing Hawkeye,
he's breaking his forearm.
Dude, all of it.
100%.
Right, and you can't say Steve Rogers or Bucky because they're super soldiers.
I know, I consider it. And you can't say, like, about anybody else.
I know, no. So...
Yeah,
M'Baku, man.
M'Baku. I love that guy, man. Like, dude, I wish he had more time.
I wish he had more screen time. That's my only con, because he was just so great. He was a welcome addition to the movie, a much needed comedic relief for such an emotional movie with such emotional stakes. So I do love his character. And I'm curious where they're going to go with him in the future. I do feel like the third movie will probably be his final.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, but I'm not sure. We'll see what they do in the future.
I can see him getting killed off, but
Yeah.
I don't really see a successor, for his area. So.
Right.
I mean, he probably just helps fight a battle, goes, and then we just never see him again.
Right. So who knows? But I loved M'Baku. I loved M'Baku.
I love that guy.
All right, next up we got to talk about. We're gonna do two characters in one, because their characters kind of mixed together in this movie. One being one I was not expecting at all, and then another one being a welcome one. And that being, of course, Agent Ross, my guy. Yeah, Everett Ross, love him.
The Hobbit, recently
Martin Freeman
from defeating Smaug.
Yeah, facts.
Just pulls up.
He just pulled up. Love Agent Ross, and then of course Valentina being in this movie. My girl, I did not expect. As soon as she popped up on screen, I was like, "What,
bro? What
Thunderbolts? Where?"
I mean, I'm kind of surprised that this was kept a secret.
Yeah,
we didn't hear nothing about her. Making
nothing about this was this was probably this was the only cameo in this movie, and it was completely unexpected.
Yeah, she had too much.
I mean, unfortunately, it was no Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire cameo, but at the same time, I was like, what is your actual point? And that was my thing. It was like, what was her point?
Why are you here? And then and it just made it a lot weirder when you find out they used to be married. It's like,
yeah, I know,
bro. What is going on with this really weird work, but actually personal relationship?
Right.
It was just. Ross was vibing.
Dude, I love Ross. He's doing everything for Wakanda.
I know. He's like, bro, they saved my life.
So I need to help them out.
Yeah.
And he had more screen time than I anticipated he would have.
Yeah.
He didn't have a whole lot, but he had more than I thought he would, if I'm being honest.
But he was a huge player in this movie because he's the only one on the federal government side who's vouching for Wakanda, with the whole attack. Because everyone's against him. He's like, look, man. So that part was really cool.
Even though he was arrested and we don't know his fate. Well, no, they broke him out towards the end. That's right. But I guess they're going to harbor him in Wakanda maybe or something like that.
I don't know.
I'm not quite sure.
It's not like, we could just walk in there and try to get him back.
Facts.
No barriers.
So we find out Valentina is actually the director of, I guess, is it the CIA or is it another organization?
I mean, either it's the CIA or it's a branch within the CIA.
Right, something like that.
I don't know if it too much matters.
So she's essentially the Amanda Waller of the MCU. Literally, she's the Amanda Waller of the MCU.
I do not like her, man.
I know. It's like, of course, she's already recruited several of the Thunderbolts, and that's going to build into the movie coming in 2024. But I was like, why would they bring her in this movie if she has nobody to recruit? Namor is not going to be in the Thunderbolts.
That's what I was thinking the entire time, man. Who could she?
I know. There's no M'Baku, maybe.
I think we floated that idea earlier to each other.
That would be another strong dude out of multiple. You already have David Harbour's Red Guardian.
It wouldn't be Okoye or Nakia.
No, because they're too good.
They're too good.
Right.
It would have to be someone with a stained past or a secret or something.
So I feel like the only one in this movie would be M'Baku. I mean, and it's not going to be Namor.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I doubt with him too because he's leading his people. He's their leader. So honestly, I think Okoye
now, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know though.
I mean, it's definitely it's probably more likely that she doesn't recruit anybody from the movie,
right?
But just weird, dude.
It's just a weird placement. Yeah. I agree with that. So I don't really know, but Agent Ross though, love that guy.
I love him.
We already know he's going to be in Secret Invasion, so that's cool to see. He's coming back,
my boy.
Which is welcome. Was he a Skrull? I don't know. I doubt it.
He could have been.
Is Valentina a Skrull? I don't know.
She could have been.
She could have. Is one of the Dora Milaje a Skrull? Anything's possible.
Could have been.
Anything's possible when it comes to Skrulls. So I don't know.
I mean, probably Wakanda technology couldn't even detect them.
No. The only thing that detects them is knowledge. So
knowledge
of their memories.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Huh. Bruh, I would never trust anybody. That would be a sad world.
That's why I'm so excited for Secret Invasion.
Everyone would be so paranoid the entire time. You can't even trust the people.
Still wish it was a movie. Still wish it was a movie.
I know, but
still excited.
I mean, look on the bright side, baby. We're getting a series.
We're getting something, right? We're getting something.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we got to talk about the. I can't. It's Talokon, right? Is this where he's from?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say the Talokonians. Is that right? Talokonians. Something like that.
I'm agreeing.
So the Talokonians and Namora, of course, is his the right hand girl, and then of course the other big dude, and just
big old homie.
The Talokonians in general. I love them. I thought they were so dope.
Bro,
man.
they're overpowered, dude, man.
They had the sirens. That was horrifying. All the guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
I looked over at you in the first. I was like, bro, this is literally Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean,
the fourth one, man.
Yeah.
In the beginning, bro, when they're just and they're just
And they're just
sirening the
jumping
crap,
off the
and they're just
water,
like
yeah.
walking off.
Dude, yeah.
I'm like, bro, they're probably just laying there and just like getting insta killed.
Nuts. And these guys don't die though. Like, you know, they do,
take
but they
a
don't.
Beating, bro.
They take beating. Like that one dude was stabbed, and then they called him. They rose from the dead. And they went, "Whoa!"
Yeah, I don't understand. All their armor is bulletproof, but
Yes.
when do we see him die?
The one girl who starts the war, I think that's the only time that we see official death. I mean,
kid
there is some that get like shot in the face and some other like that. And of course, they have vibranium armor too.
Yeah, but
So-
Okoye had a vibranium spear.
Going
She, like,
straight through
stabbed
them,
him,
right?
going straight like.
So that was a bit peculiar.
Listen, man.
But then again, like they rose like they were almost dead already though.
Yeah,
so it was weird. And we did
man.
realize they're only blue when they're out of water. When they're under the water,
Yeah,
they're white.
I don't. I like that change, but I wonder why Ryan went with
Right.
that.
I guess
change.
just to make it not so similar to Avatar.
Yeah,
I guess.
like maybe like they can't stay out of water for too long.
Right,
so
which is true.
The skin turns blue because they're deprived of their
Right.
need for oxygen.
That's possible.
Something like that.
I'm not completely sure, but I thought they were awesome. Like their abilities, the water grenades were sick.
Yo, dude, water grenades one of the coolest inventions I've seen.
Right, so cool.
But
The
they were
use of it was
genuinely
amazing.
terrifying.
They were. They were
You
like
know?
that opening scene was one of my favorite
Like
scenes.
their heads just bob around in the water.
That opening scene where
Bruh.
they're out in the water in the government ship is one of my favorite scenes from the film.
It's like Winter
so
Soldier.
cool. It
Like,
was very
literally
much
like
Soldier.
Winter
Like, you know, they
Soldier,
were
bro.
killing the guards. They were ruthless and
Yeah.
stuff. It was amazing. So nobody survived. That was really cool either. Too. So
That's crazy.
I love seeing them, the Taliconians.
Yeah.
All right, next up is I take that back. There was another cameo in this movie,
Okay.
and this was a for sure welcome one. And this is of course another one of the best scenes in the film, and that being the return of our guy Killmonger.
Killmonger.
Michael B.
man.
Jordan, we're
Listen,
back.
man. We called it.
We did call it.
As soon
way
as
back when.
we see that scene and we see the back of the throne, I'm like, Killmonger.
Like
Like literally,
Killmonger.
like that's Killmonger.
And it was, and he
knew it.
looked amazing.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic addition to this film because you wouldn't expect it because in the first movie, you know, Shuri and Killmonger didn't have much of a connection, but you do remember like they are cousins and they do
Yeah.
have a connection. And the way that it was executed in this film, like playing into Shuri's emotion and how, you know, she didn't go in there with a peace of mind. She went in there with a vengeful mind. So,
Yeah.
of course, who'd she see? The King of Vengeance,
Yeah.
Killmonger.
It definitely surprised me that he didn't change at all. Like I felt like at the end of Black Panther, he maybe had like a small change of heart, but he was like
Right.
just straight on, Killmonger again, right?
I mean,
She
he didn't
enters
have
in there.
that much of one, but
But bro, listen,
he
man.
died,
Honestly,
yeah.
I didn't hear one lie when he was talking to her.
yeah.
Like, and that's like the really weird thing about it, because obviously we can recognize that he was inciting her to do, to take revenge.
To kill.
But the
Yeah.
things that he was saying were true.
were true. But the methods, not so
Yeah.
good. But the things he
You
was
know,
saying were true.
Like that was crazy.
That was a big
the
deal
darker
for
colors
Killmonger anyway.
around. It was like
Mhm.
purple, but it was like
I mean,
red.
the throne room's on
the throne
fire.
room. And she
showing what
came
would happen.
up where Ramonda
Yeah.
drowned.
And she thought
right?
that she did. That was super cool. And she thought that she would be speaking to her mother. And of course, it would have been a completely different story if she did.
Yeah.
But she spoke, of course, with Killmonger. And it was an amazing, amazing scene. Like, just him giving, telling her, give into your emotion, give into it.
Facts. Do whatever you want to
Do what you need to do,
Yeah.
cousin.
Like, be a leader.
be a leader, right?
He didn't say like take revenge. He's like take care of business. Like
Take care of
they
business.
killed your peoples.
Right, right. Don't get
he's a
into
soldier.
He is.
Obviously,
He is. So he follows
see
those
where
rules.
he's
And
thinking.
it really made me want more of him to be. I
I'm
want him
telling
back.
you, bro.
Like, how are they going to
I'm
do
telling
it?
you.
Like he's gone. But how are they going to bring him
gotta
back?
get a magician to cross over to the ancestral
That's
plane.
very true.
Create a portal to bring him in.
But the
That's
same
how-
could be said about like T'Challa.
Yeah, T'Challa then.
Ramonda.
T'Challa
and all
just
these
is
other
not
characters.
in the ancestral
I
plane. It's
know.
just
He's
Michael
just
B. Jordan's Killmonger.
No, that's crazy.
But
No.
man, it really does leave me wanting more of him. And I
Oh,
was
for sure.
really open. He would still be alive
Yeah,
and still be in
there's
this
no
movie.
way. I think that would have been weird, but I'm just glad they included him. I know Ryan Coogler and him are dear friends. So that was a big reason, of course. And then Michael B. Jordan loves playing Killmonger anyway. But just seeing his return and his speech to Shuri just really set it over me. The whole theater, of course, was alive in that scene because in the majority of the movie, the theater was silent. And that scene, everybody was alive. So it was not, it was a nice transition. But it was just really cool to see that, and seeing him back and return in such a cool way that
I love that
we
guy,
we
man.
theorized
We
about and we
need more.
expected,
We need
but
more.
we loved it and we ate it up.
We need more, man. Give
We
us
do.
some more
Give
Michael
us
B.
more
Jordan, man.
Killmonger. I don't know
Give
how
us
you're
more.
gonna do it, but Ryan Coogler, you can do it.
Ryan Coogler, do something crazy.
If they can bring back Hugh Jackman, bring back Killmonger.
Facts. It's possible,
It's
man.
possible. It's
It's
possible.
possible.
All right, now we're going to do into a new segment. We got our characters. That's through our characters, but particular to this movie, we have to talk about places because there's two big kingdoms that are important to discuss.
Yeah.
When it comes to places, so we're going to start with obviously Wakanda. I loved going back into the world of Wakanda and seeing it expressed more, seeing the new monarchy and how it's being affected. Shuri's
And
rise
how
to
they've
power.
moved on from,
Right.
his
But
death.
we've also never seen, we have Killmonger taking over Wakanda, but we've never seen it, gone to war and then war on its home turf.
Yeah.
What'd you think about that?
I thought it was crazy. Obviously, they had their backs against the wall. No longer are they a secret, nation with
Right.
every revenge on their side. Instead they're getting invaded
that's
from
the
all the
thing.
waterways
If
from powerful people.
If T'Challa didn't, come out and announce Wakanda to the world, this movie would have never taken
Never
place.
happened. And then it argues the question, like, was he wrong in the first place for
Right.
opening it up?
Mhm.
And I still say
But
they
he
shouldn't
wasn't.
have.
He wasn't.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of bloodshed.
There
Just keep it
was,
to
and I think there
themselves.
will be in the third one too when it comes to resources and the fight for vibranium. But at the same time, just to hide your complete knowledge of healing and possible cures to widespread diseases and all this stuff,
But
it
it-
just
it
seems
just-
wrong as well.
And it comes at a cost, though, too. Like you said in
does,
the third one, we're
right.
going to see probably an invasion because they had those resources and because everyone else wants them, and because the government's evil, you're going to
Right.
see them just getting freaking invaded and attacked, and
Right.
that might cost the lives of everybody.
Right.
So, to
there's
give
pros
or
and
not
cons,
to give.
pros and
you know?
cons, pros and cons. But I just love going back to the world of Wakanda. I mean, in this movie, like, yes, it had a lot of Wakanda, but there was also a lot of expansion into other places as well, which
Yeah.
I enjoyed. Seeing more of an expansion. But of course, it's Wakanda forever, so we have to go deep into that. To explore this place.
Yeah, I love
it's so
seeing
brilliant.
probably the rituals the best, specifically the funeral runs, right? 'Cause
Right.
We got to see two of them, and they were pretty, similar.
They
you
wear
know,
white,
essentially.
and it's a celebration as it should be.
Yeah.
And just doing several different rituals. Of course, the burning of clothes after a year.
Yeah.
Of a passing to show move on, and I love seeing that and agree. The funeral scene, of course, going right into that. I mean, that's the first 5 minutes of the film, and it was so beautiful and well done. And just seeing those traditions, I agree, was very welcome to this movie.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we have to talk about our new place that we were introduced to in this movie, and that being Talokan. Dude, when I say that was one of the best scenes of the film, up there with like Killmonger and among other things, it was Shuri, Namor taking Shuri through Talokan.
Yeah.
What, like the CGI
It was crazy.
stunning, beautiful.
Big
The
budget,
music
big
was
budget.
incredible. They actually filmed this underwater, so they were holding their breath. So that was what's insane as
Wait,
well.
really?
Yeah,
Bro,
So-
do not be capping.
no, they were
Really?
filming it underwater, all real. I was like, it looks real. So I was like,
They was holding their breath?
yes. I mean,
No
the
way.
whole city was green screen,
Yeah.
but they
Them,
were
yeah,
underwater.
in the water,
They were in
yeah,
like a
obviously.
fishbowl. So that was
Huh.
pretty nuts.
I did not know that.
Yes, and of course, just showing Talokan and how beautiful it is. And I really want to explore this city more, like
Yeah.
in the future of the MCU, whether it be Black Panther 3, whether it be other projects and Namor project, whatever else. I really want to see this
An
because
entire civilization on the
right,
water.
right,
You know?
it's the Atlantis of the Marvel universe.
Possibilities are endless.
Yes,
for it.
yes. Namor being the king, obviously, like it was beautiful. Seeing how they developed from they were humans on land, but they were struggling from diseases, delivered from like Spanish conquistadors,
Yeah.
smallpox, and finding this herb that's like the heart shaped herb, only for like water.
Yeah.
And they ingest it, and they can't breathe air anymore, except
So
for Namor,
weird, dude.
because of course his mutant
Mutant
abilities.
gene. I wish they would have explained that. Like you just see
Right,
this
which they
flower and
made
then they
more,
can't breathe.
right.
It's like it's kind of odd at first.
It was, and I agree, but it was also cool to see that and them go into the water and build their own civilization through Talokan. And of course, coming back later, of course, out of the water and seeing how horrible the civilization
how
on top has
world
gotten.
has become.
So, right.
I mean, the first thing he sees is slavery.
Right.
That's not a
and then
welcome
Namor
sight.
kills when he's like 8.
I know,
Like, dude,
I was
holy
like,
cow.
bro,
Like, that's a lot.
Bro, listen, I know nobody who did that.
Dude, yeah. But it was really cool to see those places of Wakanda and Talokan, two places I want to explore a lot further in
Yeah.
the future of the MCU.
Gorgeous.
All
man.
right. Now we got to get into our pros and cons. So I will probably spend quite a bit of time on pros, a little bit less time on cons.
I know I have a small number. I know you have a good number.
Right. So I guess I'll start because
you
I'm
go
more.
ahead and start.
Right off the bat, I feel like we may have the same one. And that being my first pro, the writing. Just right off the bat, the writing. The writing of this movie was so not perfect, but almost. Like it was beautiful. It was stunning. The character development going with the writing, and that's another pro. I'll mix them together because it goes hand in hand. The character development of Shuri was beautiful. The character development of Namor is beautiful. Just the writing surrounding the plot and the city and all of that stuff and the effect of that was just beautiful.
That's essentially, I can't think of a film that went through harder things and trying to create know that plot and that story. So the writing was obviously huge standout.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't this the third longest MCU movie?
It's 240 behind Endgame and
Infinity War. Is that correct, or is it longer than Infinity War?
You know what? I think Google would know.
Like I'm just kind of wondering because it was it's 241, and of course Endgame is 32. And was Infinity War?
Infinity War is 229.
229?
Yeah.
No way. It's longer.
Bro, that's what it says.
I think it probably minus the end credits.
Nah, dude. Endgame is 3 hours too.
That's crazy.
As far as I'm seeing, this is the
second longest MCU movie. That's crazy.
And it didn't feel like it though.
It did not feel like it.
And obviously when you get, I'm in no way comparing this to The Godfather, but that's 3+ hours, and that movie moved really quick. And when you have a movie 230 plus running time, you'll become so encapsulated and just captured by the good writing,
right,
that you'll forget the time. That's how it works. If it's a bad movie, you'll be counting the minutes.
You're gonna be feeling like it's forever. But this movie,
you connect to
like
the characters, what's
quick.
going on. So
it was a snap of the fingers. I completely agree. What an amazing good job that they did with that. You go ahead.
Let me give the first pro I wrote down was the acting, and I had two people in particular, and that was number one Letitia Wright and number two Angela Bassett.
For sure.
I really think, I mean, obviously it was a great, acting performance all around from the cast, but I feel like these two just stole the show. Yeah,
they did.
Obviously, especially Letitia, like we said, the writing was just perfect for her, and we got to see that huge change, that huge character arc we got to see throughout the movie, and then obviously her acting, because we get to see her go from nerdy to grieving to vengeance, and then to forgiveness and compassion at the end. And then with Angela's character, with her, just with her story throughout the movie, seeing her feel the pain, seeing her ultimately sacrifice her life.
Yeah.
Their acting was, in the midst of everything else being really good, it still stood out. So I think that says something.
Yeah, I completely agree. The acting was phenomenal. My next pro is, we talked about this just a few minutes ago, but the pacing. Again, how it felt like, it felt like a blink of an eye. You were watching this movie, it was 241, the second longest MCU movie, and just everything that went so perfectly well. I feel like the worst pacing, it was the beginning a little bit. I feel like I would have liked them to prolong the funeral scene a little bit more than they did. But after that, the pacing is just beautifully done. Everything, like, it slows down when it needs to and then speeds up when it has to.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Then they did that really well. So
and I was talking to my buddy Lucas about it, and that was one of his biggest complaints about the movie. He feels like there's a lot of subplots that were thrown in that kind of diluted the main storyline, which I didn't quite see. I feel like everything that was including the movie was rather, pertinent to the story. What was going around. Like, I can't think of like a single subplot that.
There's one subplot that was a little bit off. I'll talk about my cons.
Okay.
But other than that, the pacing, it fit really well.
Yeah, for a longer movie.
Exactly. Like, if you have a long movie that correlates like that, you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And of course they did that with this.
All right. Another one I wrote down was how well they both expanded upon the Wakandan culture and also introduced the new city, right?
Yes.
Namor City and its people. It didn't feel cheesy. It didn't feel fake. It didn't feel like a green screen, which is, a rarity these days in Marvel action movies. It really did a good job expanding upon the whole culture and lore of the first movie. And taking on the task of introducing the whole nother nation to pair up against them. I thought was absolutely amazing, brilliant. I don't even know how you come up with those ideas in the first place.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Shout out Ryan. But that part was truly gorgeous.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, wow. Again, another wow.
Wow.
Owen Wilson. Wow.
Wow.
I can't do it. All right. For my next pro, I have just like you said, the visual effects. Just a reversion. They're beautiful. Just love the visual effects. And how, again, like the real underwater stuff and the immersion of going to Talokan and seeing those stuff. I mean, there was one piece that looked a little bit video game-ish, and that was when Namor was sitting on the throne as a lion. Looked a little bit off, but I can overlook that for the greater picture. And that was the only one for me that looked a little bit off. But other than that, I think they really, really did a good job. And I'll go on with my next one because I think I have a few more than you. Yeah. And that being the action of this movie was also very good. Like the fight between Namor and Shuri was actually a lot better than I expected.
That one kind of went crazy. It did. It gave me Eternals vibes, kind of.
In a way, but better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, she literally pulled off one of his wings.
Yeah.
Like she pulled off one of his wings. She dehydrated him. She literally burned his back.
With the jet.
And then he impaled her.
I still don't understand, man, how she survived. I guess your vibranium
The vibranium suit, yeah.
That just doesn't make, like, you still have a hole in your body.
Right. But if you think back of what happened in the first Black Panther, where they can use the vibranium to hold wounds together and to keep that,
but we never got to see a recovery from Shuri.
That was one thing would
like
be
it made
cool
it seem like
but,
she was just a-okay.
Right.
Like not even a bandage.
Yeah, they've been doing Star Wars or not Star Wars. Marvel. Star Wars did do it, but Marvel and Star Wars have done that quite a bit. Like you just get stabbed and you're like, okay.
You're like, all right, I'm okay.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that could have been better, but I think probably the vibranium would be their explanation if I had to pick one. But the action, I mean, you had the car chase scene with the Okoye in the car, Shuri on the bike, and Ironheart in her Mark I suit, and just the whole Namor attacking Wakanda and vice versa. With Shuri attacking them.
The beginning action scene actually might have been my favorite.
Yes.
Like truly.
It was very well, and to go with that, the darker tone of the action, it was darker than most MCU movies going to go. I mean, they were stabbed like straight up. They were killed in pretty violent ways. You see a little bit of blood, and it was definitely very rewarding to see, and I enjoyed it.
One pro that I had, and it kind of goes along with that, and it's a little longer, but it's just it was the political aspects of this movie. Despite the action being so cool and so well done, I don't feel like this was like primarily an action film like the majority, if not all, of the Marvel movies. Like while the action was cool, I feel like it was secondary compared to what was really going on, and that was like this political kind of drama, these political tensions going on, not only between Namor's people and the Wakandans, but also with the federal government trying to get involved and all these tensions. It really gave me like Winter Soldier vibes, to be honest. Like all y'all know, Winter Soldier is my favorite Marvel movie, and that's just because it's not just a straight up action flick. It's like this really cool like espionage, political movie. I felt that way with this one. Like I said, not just with these political tensions rising between these two nations, but then the federal government is actively trying to get involved when they're just making matters worse. Right. Then you see Ross's whole involvement with like these three different sides. That was so cool, man. So when the action finally did come on, it was well received because it reminded me kind of Civil War. Like it wasn't just pointless fighting or just action for the sake of action. The majority of this movie, Michael, is dialogue. And some casual fans might find that, boring, but I thought it was amazing because without those hours of dialogue, it's, how hard it is to get one nation to fight another nation that have lived in peace for thousands of years.
Well, both of them didn't even know of each other's existence.
But and that's huge.
It was just, I completely...
It was necessary.
Completely agree. I mean, just so incredibly done that you can see those correlations of the political nature and the dialogue going along with that, because it was a lot of dialogue in this movie, but it was a lot of welcome dialogue. Like well written.
Yeah, I really think this might have the most dialogue in any MCU movie. I think even has more than Endgame because Endgame has a lot of action in it,
right?
even more so.
Very
But I
possible.
really think that this is, just runtime wise, dialogue, and it's all like one-on-one scenes, building up the characters and development for how we know like it's gonna end for them.
Right.
It's
Right.
dope.
I completely, dude.
Like it's
Great
and that
point.
just goes
Great
back
point.
to your writing, Con.
Yeah, Ryan Coogler did a great job.
Shout out.
Great job again. All right, my next pro is I really liked how it felt. I mean, more than most MCU movies, it felt like a straight up sequel to the first one. Like it was such a sequel. Like there was no really much outside references to other MCU movies. There was a couple references to like the blip, and there was a couple. Of course, Valentina was in it, but it showed the repercussions of Killmonger destroying the heart-shaped herb that, of course, would have saved Chadwick's life, but or not Chadwick's, but T'Challa's life.
Yeah,
but it didn't. And then, of course, dealing with the repercussions of the other countries like France and the United States wanting vibranium and Wakanda's resources after, of course, Black Panther 1, coming out as a nation and who they are was just brilliant. And to see that sequel, it's really cool because you don't often see that. Like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, it didn't feel like a sequel to the first one.
Yeah.
Or some of the other ones do not
Madness.
feel a sequel, right?
Yeah.
So this one definitely was really cool to see it feel like the sequel to the first Black Panther, which I enjoyed. Even though it lost, of course, its main protagonist.
Yeah. I only got one more pro, so if you want to eat,
no, you go ahead because I blended a lot of my pros I had together.
Okay. I'm gonna go. My last one, the cinematography. Obviously, that goes hand in hand with the VFX, as you previously said. But to freaking pull out these scenes of these jungles, of these oceans, of these boats sitting there, I can't imagine how hard it is. But all of his shots are perfect and beautiful. Especially, I love the end credit scene. That shot, Shuri on the beach.
Right.
The cinematography in the movie is very well done, and there's not really a wasted scene. A wasted scene, despite the length of it. Like they all have meaning, and importance.
Yeah. I agree.
I loved it. It's beautiful, dude. To look at.
Cinematography it's a beautiful movie. It's a visual movie.
Yeah.
Definitely benefited it. My last pro, because I blended a lot of my pros together, and being the past scenes. I loved going into the past and seeing Namor's origin and seeing the effects of what's to come in the future and the present of what it displayed in this movie was just so cool. And to see the reason of Talokan and its birth, as well as Namor and his origin just in this movie and a couple of scenes was really, really cool. I mean, they executed Namor so well, and just to go further and beyond when it comes to the parents and the his birth and why he did what he is what he is now, and he's so protective of Talokan and what it means to him is just I really enjoyed that part of the movie.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to start us off with the cons, Nathan?
Yeah. So I only have 2 cons.
Okay.
My first con, I don't think that we saw enough of the federal government. I know, obviously, we were given Ross and Valentina, in place of that. But I really wish we got to see more of the UN. I was fascinated by the scenes with Queen Ramonda and them. Like you said, I love getting to see those other countries get a pitch, get a saying, hey, we want some of that. We want this. I want to see more federal... Sounds funny to say. I want to see more of the government like getting involved in this story. I mean, it's these 2 nations warring against each other, often on American soil. So it just shocks me that we wouldn't see more scenes in the UN, more scenes, with, officers, both federal and local. I just wish that would have been more included because that would have. I know he's trying to distance it a little bit, right? It's about Black Panther, about these tribes, about these nations, but I wish we got to see more of that. And instead, we just got more awkward Valentina and Ross scenes.
And that brings me to my first con, and being the whole Valentina plot. That's just my con because it was not really necessary to this movie. And I agree it could have been replaced with more UN, more federal government issues that could have been displayed in this movie a lot better than the whole Valentina plot. That didn't really, it was kind of a fish out of water in this movie, to be honest. Like, it just did not make a lot of sense. Like, it was cool in a way to see more development of Valentina and learn more about her, because this is actually the first time she's ever had a role in an MCU movie.
Yeah.
Because prior to this, she was in an end credit scene with Black Widow and then Disney Plus shows.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see her have a role in a movie. But at the same time, it's like not necessary for this particular movie. And the fact that there was only one character she interacted with in this movie, and that was Ross. Like she had no interactions with any of the rest of
anybody else, despite
characters.
apparently being head over the CIA.
Exactly.
Like
she didn't talk to Shuri once.
Give us scenes of her giving orders to the CIA.
Right.
Of her pulling strings, something like that.
Something.
But instead, she's just showing up in Ross's house. Right. It's like, bro, what is this?
What are you doing? And then arresting my guy? Like, no.
Facts, like he's married, bro.
Like, I'm gonna slap you.
Get out of the house,
Leave me alone.
Get out of the house.
But yeah, that whole plot was a big con for me.
I agree, man. The other con I had, I feel like Coogler did a really good job. I feel like he could have spent a little more time on this, and that's kind of Shuri's change into this vengeful character, right? Briefly, we see her grieving right after her mom, and then the point where that changes is where she goes into the ancestral plane. She's confronted by Killmonger, and then she decides that she wants to take revenge. I feel like that change happened rather quick. Obviously, we understand why it did. Losing within what's like 1 year, 2 years. Her mom and her brother. But it felt definitely out of character because kind of with that scene, as soon as she comes out, her mind is made up about what she wants to do, and that was about 2 minutes scene, and then because of just that decision made there, and then she's taking her people out, and they're getting slaughtered mercilessly by the Talokans. I just wish that they had spent more time, maybe like just him planting a seed in that, and then maybe the next 20 minutes, like she's going over it, talking about it, and then like a firm decision is made. I just feel like she comes out of that really quickly, and then bam, she's vengeful, and then people die.
See, I disagree, and I'll tell you why. Well, like you said, she was already grief-ridden, right? She lost her brother. She was always super emotional and sad. Didn't want to give in to the emotional ancestral plane. She didn't believe in it. She didn't have any of that. She was all into science, and she was always grieving then. And then Namor comes in the picture, and at first she's like, super like she wants to solve the problems for Wakanda and doesn't want it to go to war. But then he kills her mother. He kills her mother in a very horrible way, and then he looks at her and he tells her, "You're the queen now." After straight up drowning his mother,
bro, savage.
And at that point in her heart, it may seem weird, and of course, her coming out of the ancestral plane and being so vengeful. But at that point in her heart, she was already vengeful.
I think she was already
because if I was in her situation, I would be feeling the exact same way. Yeah. I would want vengeance against that man.
So you're saying that it was just kind of confirmation with Killmonger rather than
right. And not only that, is she never would have saw Killmonger in the ancestral plane anyway if she wasn't already feeling that vengeful
going in,
because she wouldn't have saw him because they had no really correlation unless that vengeful passed, and she would have saw her mother.
So since she had it in her, but it was in that plane where she decided to act on it.
If she had already grew from that and already moved on from that, she would have saw Ramonda instead of seeing Killmonger. Instead, Killmonger fed into her, and when she woke up, she wasn't vengeful right off the bat because they were like, "Who did you see?" And she couldn't even say it because she was in such shock that she would see him, and he was telling her that you should enact in the vengeance. And then that led her to bleed and be like, "Okay, let's solve a plan to stop him." And then in the moment when she's fighting against him, she's like, I have a choice. I can kill him. And she almost does. And she, when she's like, Wakanda forever, she's about to burn him alive and about to stab him. But then she remembers her brother and what he would have done. And that's where you see that shift. So that's where I disagree. I think it was very well done. Very, very well written from my perspective. So, all right. My next con is, honestly, just the reasoning of going to all out war was a little bit off to me. Of course, at first they Namor comes out of the water and says like, we found this piece, searching for vibranium. There's a scientist out there. Bring me the scientist. And then they send their own people to get scientists while also the Wakandans go after Riri. That was a little bit confusing me, but that's not that big of a deal. But also that happening, and then of course Namor wanting an alliance, but then being like, we're going to go to war with you if you don't join us. Like that whole didn't sit necessarily right with me. And then of course, then they go to war by, them killing one of their people, which makes sense. And then that leads to the war. That is how a lot of war is in general. You think back to World War I, World War II, it's always like the whole effects of nationalism and socialism and those kind of ideologies that kind of bounce off each other and don't agree. That's how war begins. But here, and then of course you have that spark of whether it's an assassination or something that leads to actual war.
Yeah.
And you had that here, but I feel like the beginning of that war could have been a little bit better executed.
Yeah.
From my own perspective.
I mean, I really think that feeds into the fact that Namor was looking for something.
Mhm.
Like, I really do. I feel like it had been a little while since he had just kind of gone crazy, but I really feel like that he was kind of searching for whatever. Because, I mean, I trust Ryan Coogler enough to kind of like, I don't know, just ruin the reasonings behind like the war between two nations. Like, I really feel like all I needed was just a little bit, and then we're just like kept on stoking the fire until the fact where he's just like, killing people.
Right.
Because he's a very proud leader, and he wants to, as he says, protect his people at all costs. But that usually comes at, the cost of the lives of other people, whether they've done anything or not.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
all right.
I do agree.
And do you have any more cons or no?
That was about all I had.
Right, so I have one final con, and that being, I wanted more M'Baku. That's my last con.
Facts.
I just really would have liked to have seen more of him in this movie, and I don't feel like all the characters in this movie were utilized properly. I mean, you had Shuri, you had Ramada, and you had Namor, and they kind of took the cake. Like, you had these other characters that benefited, like Nakia and Okoye and Riri, and they had that like next branch.
But they were in their own kind of category.
Right, exactly. And then you had the other characters that, go with Wakanda, like M'Baku or Ayo, or some of them other characters that Mormalaje and stuff that kind of got sidelined and were not very involved as I would have liked to have seen.
Yeah.
From my personal perspective. But that's my last comment.
Listen, man, I agree. And I hope they flesh them out further
yes.
in the third movie.
And it's possible, and I've heard reports that we're getting a Wakanda series. And if I had to guess, I would say either Okoye or M'Baku would run it.
Or maybe both.
I
do like a split, maybe.
Right. So I would enjoy that, maybe. Maybe they could expand that way.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
All right.
All right. Next piece we got to talk about, and that being the end credits scene. So before we dig deep into talking it, I just want to ask you a simple question. Did you like this end credit scene or not?
Did I like it?
Before we dive deep into it.
That's a good question. I'll be honest with you. I was disappointed when I saw it. I don't think this was a huge surprise.
I think it was a surprise, but not one that,
constituted
right
an end credit scene, especially when there's rumors of doom. This is quite a letdown. I do believe that this should have been placed at the end of the movie
instead of
as like a cliffhanger and then the end credit scene.
I agree. I think it would have been better. I didn't necessarily like it, but I didn't dislike it. Like, I thought it was cool.
Like, what does it lead to? That's the question.
Right. So what the end credit scene was, obviously Shuri had just burned her clothes from the funerals from both her brother and her mother, and coming to terms with that character development. Who she is now. Yeah. She is the queen. She is the Black Panther.
Yeah.
And then of course it's revealed that Nakia actually had a son with T'Challa prior to his death. And also correlates back to the first Black Panther, where T'Chaka, his father, tells him to prepare your children for your death at all times. And of course, what does Nakia say? He prepared us for his death, which was beautiful as well, character development from his stake. And it was very, it was beautiful. It was emotional. Like, I was tearing up a little bit because of the fact that, he has a son. And of course, his Wakanda name is T'Challa.
T'Challa,
so is their way of saying they don't want to recast, but they still want T'Challa.
Yeah, T'Challa in the role
in the MCU. So, which is completely understandable, and I get why they did it. But at the same time, I think it would have been better as the ending, as to the end credit scene. I agree. But at the same time, it's also what could it mean? What obviously this kid's got a lot of growing up to do.
He's 8
before he steps up to the mantle of Black Panther.
He's nowhere near the Young Avengers crew,
which is pretty cool to see, because he would have had Nakia would have had him around, I guess, 2019, 2018.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the blip. And he didn't get blipped, his son. So that makes sense, I guess. So to where he'd be older than, you would think. But it's pretty cool to see that. And, it'll probably lead to him becoming Black Panther later. But
a different actor.
I don't think they'll ever show it within the MCU, if I'm being honest. After the success of Shuri, I want to see more Shuri. That's what's I never thought I would say that.
And the whole movie was, about implementing her in that specific role.
I want more of her as Black Panther.
in the odd case, that Letitia retires, or her contract just runs out, they can always say, "Oh, well, we have T'Challa."
Right. And
Take Father
bring
role,
back
and
Black
then
Panther.
they cast somebody else,
Right,
or maybe the same
exactly.
kid. I don't know,
Exactly.
but I really feel like that's more of a fail safe, a backup
Mhm.
plan. To
It
be
is.
honest,
It is.
like
But
Shuri is still young,
Right.
she's the Black Panther going forward.
right.
So the whole kid thing just kind of feels like it's there because it's comic accurate, and in case they need somebody else,
Right.
you know.
So we'll see with that, but it was good, and it was also like but at
Yeah,
the same time, so
I
it had
I
those
feel,
correlations.
I feel.
And then also, of course, it said Black Panther will return, meaning
Sure,
Shuri
yeah.
will return. So that was cool as
Mm.
well to see. What will be her next project? I have no idea, but I'm excited nonetheless for that. So theories on the future. Again, we'll go into that. For the biggest theories surrounding is Namor, right? The future of Namor.
Mm.
When are we going to see him again? Obviously, at the end, he was painting his moral, and he was talking about how they have an alliance now. Who is this
Yeah,
alliance? Is it Doom?
but
Is it another country? What's
he's still trying to like undermine Wakanda though. Like
yes,
he's trying to pull a fast one on them. They
he
it's
is
like we're allied, we're allies now, but
right.
I don't know, but he's still like he wants to still hurt them,
Mm-hmm.
and that's pretty clear. So his alliance, I think Doom, like
Think
you
Doom
mentioned it
makes
earlier,
sense.
Michael, but
Right.
Doom has the resources, the money, the technology like that he would need, and
Right.
he's straight manpower.
And it would be super cool because Namor is a character that's super awesome, and I would love to see him again. So maybe he'll be in Black Panther 3, and Black Panther 3 will deal with not just a war against Talokan, but a war against everybody versus Wakanda because everybody wants the resources. So that'd be kind of cool to see. See
I
them
would
going
like
after
that,
the resources, and then Shuri dealing with the political ramifications as well as the responsibilities as her as Black Panther would be cool to
Yeah.
see. In
Okay,
that movie for
that
the
sounds
third.
like a fire plot synopsis.
Right. So I think maybe Namor in Black Panther 3 is the next time we'll see him. Or maybe we'll see him in Fantastic Four, like I said earlier. Maybe he'll get his own project.
But I don't think we're ever gonna see him on a type of team.
I think he'll be in a Secret Wars. I think he'll be in Avengers Secret Wars.
Really?
Because they're bringing everybody out of the woodwork for that one. So
You think he'll be redeemed as a character by
I
them?
think so. I think he'll be a good character in this movie, and I think he'll be very beneficial.
Yeah.
And cool to see in Secret Wars. So we'll see how they do it. But I'm excited for his future. So what about Shuri? What do we think we'll see from Shuri in the future?
I mean, obviously, we're gonna see that trilogy.
Right.
We're gonna see her. Honestly, I don't see anything else until
Kang Dynasty,
Secret Wars,
Secret
and Kang Dynasty.
which she'll be in.
Honestly, I don't see a death, but on the other hand, if they're looking to just early on in the movies maybe showcase Kang's power by killing somebody out of the people available, I don't know if they would choose to kill
I
a
don't
younger
think they would kill Shuri.
Probably maybe like an older character,
Mm.
maybe like a Thor or Strange or something like
Right.
that. But
Right.
my guess is she survives.
I wouldn't-
After that, they probably had to work out a
Right.
contract for more solo movies. But I don't
Possibly.
know. Like
I don't know.
3 movies and then 2 more. Like that's a lot of movies.
That's plenty. Yeah. I don't know what we'll see. I would love to see her and stuff. I don't know how big of a role she'll play in the Avengers movies. Honestly, I think
she'd
she'll probably have a pretty big
honestly,
role.
T'Challa was pretty
I
big.
think T'Challa would have
but I
had.
think they're gonna focus on Letitia Wright a lot.
You think
I really
so?
do. Yeah.
I think T'Challa would, if they would have kept Chadwick, and of course, tragically, if they could have, he would have been like. I think it would have been Benedict Cumberbatch and Chadwick Boseman.
like a leader.
I think that would have been the new Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans.
Yeah.
For the MCU going forward. But I don't know if they'll do that with Letitia Wright and Benedict Cumberbatch. I don't know if they'll do that. I can't see that.
I don't see it, and I definitely see her as more a side character because they still have
Right.
Thor, they still have Bruce Banner, they still have freaking Doctor Strange.
Right.
But those characters are gonna die off eventually.
Right.
So,
So we'll
after
see.
that, she might be next up.
She could be. I don't know what they'll do, but I'm excited nonetheless for that in the future of the MCU surrounding Black Panther and the characters.
Yeah.
All right, now it's time for what I hope a lot of you waiting for is our rating on Heroes of the Moment of what we think out of 10 we would rate Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So I'm gonna let you go first because I'm curious.
Okay, I'm gonna go first. I say this every time. I don't think I'll ever give anything a 10, and I barely ever give anything a 9. I got high standards. I love this movie. I thought it was a great success. The writing was just off the wall.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Looking in accordance with the other projects I've rated and how this movie was, I've only seen it once, so this is fluid.
And
it might
unfortunately, I would have
change.
loved to have seen this movie, and I plan on seeing it this week sometime again.
Yeah.
For another perspective, but yeah.
I'm gonna go. Man, I'm gonna err on the lower side just because I've only seen it once, and I don't want to overrate it because of recency bias. I'm gonna give it 8.5 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably closer to a 9, honestly, than 8.5.
Yeah.
But this is one of the top Marvel projects. Obviously, I have my whole top 10 Marvel list here. But like I said, there's no like real glaring flaws. Like honestly,
No, yeah.
And if there was, it would have been bumped down. But there's not. This movie's amazing, spectacular. I think it deserves every bit of it. 8.5.
Right. For me, my ratings have changed. Actually, it was different throughout the first act of this movie. I was like, this movie's pretty good. I would say it's probably like an 8 out of 10 movie.
Yeah.
Progressively, it got better, and progressively at the end, I was like, okay, it's better than that. So I was like, at first when I initially finished the movie, I was like, this is probably an 8.5. I would agree.
Yeah.
And stuff. But again, like if you remember back in the beginning of this podcast, I said I liked it better as I slept on it and I thought about it. And of course, I don't want it to be affected by recency bias, but honestly, it was such a good movie to the fact, like, I think I would stand by this score in the future. And even though I haven't seen it twice, and I'm going to see it again.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to stand with a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10
ranking. I'm not going to go higher than that.
Yeah,
but
that's solid.
I think
9 out of 10 is wow.
I mean, it's up there, and obviously, you guys know I'm very more optimistic than Nathan is. I tend to enjoy things more, and I'm not afraid to rank high.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It was just a very enjoyable project, definitely up there with the MCU. I definitely enjoyed it.
I could see that. I knew you were gonna say that. As soon as you said it went up, I was like, he's not gonna jump a whole point. I was like, 0.5.
Yeah. I did jump 0.5. So if you guys would like to see where this movie Black Panther: Wakanda Forever ranks among our other MCU movies, and if it makes the top 10, check out our next slate of Superhero News 17, where we're gonna give our official brand new after the release of Black Panther top 10 MCU movies. So check that out. We'll break that down on there. But overall, final thoughts. I adore this movie. I can't wait to see it again. I tried to see it again multiple times this weekend, but of course I had a little mini vacation.
Busy plans.
I couldn't do it.
Doing things.
But I do plan on seeing it again, and I can't wait to do it. And I loved this movie.
All right, guys. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know by giving us a review and a download. Here's in the Moment is available on all major podcast platforms, so check us out on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast on. If you want to stay up to date on the social media, check out our Instagram at Here's in the Moment, and then on TikTok at Here's in the Moment with an extra T. Our previous episode was our latest superhero news part 16. That was awesome. Go ahead and check it out if you so feel.
We just want to thank y'all for listening, and as always, we love you 3000.